America, do you realize what you did yesterday? Do you know who you were against yesterday? Every special interest, every giant, everybody. I mean, this was David versus Goliath. You had a rock and a slingshot. Look what you did. It was a bloodbath for Democrats last night. It was historic. It was a mandate against their fundamental transformation. It was a loud, clear stop. Stop spending. Stop the government intrusion. Stop. I don't care who did it. I don't care what you inherited. I don't care. When I woke up, the house was on fire. I'm awake now. Just stop what you're doing. That's what this was. You sent a clear message. Whether they get it or not is irrelevant, because you're not going back to sleep, and they'll tell you now. Oh, no, you can't do anything. All these Tea Party. Really? When are they going to wake up? When are they going to wake up? Because they're the ones asleep now. It was a remarkable night. And by the way, Alan Grayson, I'm glad you can spend more time with your family. I am. There were a couple of rain clouds dotting the sky last night. I want to take a look at a couple of the progressives which were able to survive somehow, some way. And I want to look at maybe the people who helped them survive. Let's look at Harry Reid. Somehow, Harry Reid pulled this off. Could it be that the unions actually showed up and virtually dragged people by the hair to the polls to vote for Harry Reid? Because I'm pretty sure that Bill Maher would be okay with that. The unions spent over $200 million to get Democrats elected. That's what they said. Some sources will tell us that if you add up what the unions will have spent, when you add up everything they spent, it will add up to $1 billion in this election, midterms. Now, I don't care if it's $200 million or $1 billion. You think maybe they're expecting something in return? Well, they really wanted to keep Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid in office. He received at least $409,000 that we know of just from the union PACs up to October 25th. He was the largest recipient of union cash. Now, what is Harry going to have to do for that money? You don't suppose that they might encourage Harry to bring up the wildly unpopular card check, you know, the open union vote, do you? No. He also vowed to bring the DREAM Act up for a vote in the lame duck session here. And just, isn't great? Legislation, by the way, would provide a path for citizenship for illegals and provide more union members for unions. Oh, gee, come on, Mr. Snotty Face. What are you, you're just upset. Really? Yeah. I'm not saying that means the unions got Harry Reid reelected. Let me show you an exit poll. This is an exit poll. Anyone in the household belong to a labor union? You're for Reid or you're for Engel? If you say no, it's 48-48. If you say, yeah, I'm a union member, it's 67-29. So Harry only had that small little margin of 67-29 edge with union members. So what? He's his own man. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not true. What happened in Vegas is headed to Washington. It was also Nightmare on Jerry Brown Street, Part 2. Just when you thought it was safe to laugh at Governor Moonbeam comes the sequel. Jerry said that he's going to stimulate clean energy jobs. Oh. Maybe you could do it with some of those Hollywood porn movies they're making. Develop 1,200 megawatts of localized energy by 2020. Wow! That's such a good idea. We should look into the details of that one, Moonbeam. Invest in infrastructure and create construction jobs. The government can create them. Increase manufacturing jobs. And, of course, California believed him. By the way, the pot thing didn't pass. Don't you have to be high first to elect him? Well, in California, he was governor from 75 to 83, and he said this. Watch this.
You run for office, and the assumption is, oh, I know what to do. You don't. I didn't have a plan for California. Clinton doesn't have a plan.
So you said you had a plan. You said you had a plan for California.
Well,
you lied because you didn't have a plan.
You say you're going to lower taxes. You're going to put people to work. You're going to improve the schools. The schools, you're going to stop crime. Crime is up. Schools are worse. Taxes are higher. I mean, be real.
He's bluffing. He's telling you he has no clue. And yet, yeah, you know what we should do? We should elect Governor Brown. Are you out of your mind? You don't suppose Governor-elect Brown would, support cap-and-trade legislation for the environmentalist nuts in California, do you? More on California and labor unions next. I have to tell you, I'm very excited about what happened last night, but I want you to understand that this is the beginning. What is it? Fighting is in rounds. This is just round one. This is round one. I was telling you about all the contributions labor unions have made during the election. They're going to want payback. I personally would like to thank California for giving us back Senator Ma'am Barbara Boxer, recipient of $344,000 from the labor unions. By the way, completely unrelated, she's a strong supporter of the Employee Free Choice Act, which would allow workers, not employers, to choose the method of organizing a union. And she also opposes the right to work legislation, which would allow people to refuse to pay the union dues associated with the benefits from collective bargaining. That's great. And in Connecticut, again, what a surprise. SEIU, our old pals, helped out Dick. Good old Senator Dick Blumenthal from Connecticut. He's not going to be trouble. These are not your everyday mainstream Democrats who won last night. These are not the everyday Democrats that are behind the scenes. In fact, they have a lot of help from a lot of allies. Listen to this. This is one of the heads of the Communist Party USA describing just a couple of weeks ago exactly what's happening right now.
These racist, anti-communist right-wingers got out there and built themselves this little Tea Party thing for the purpose of pushing the country back. That the development of the right-wing movement that has come about is largely a sign of weakness and collapse of American capitalism, and not a sign of its strength.
That's why I'm not a communist. I never understand them. Anyway, it's a sign of America fighting back against this new wave of communists and their allies. That's what it is. There are, if I may, in the puppet show, I'm the Republican, I'm the Democrat, and we're fighting each other. Oh, take this, take... That's the puppet show that you're watching. But behind the scenes, what's really going on? Hardcore progressives and their allies with a decidedly extreme left-wing agenda. But here's how you can make a difference. You already have. Celebrate what you have done. Celebrate the fact that 2 years ago, I had to tell you, you're not alone. Square your shoulders. You changed the direction of the country, and they're going to make you believe that you haven't. You have. But now you have to roll up your sleeves. I talked with Congressman Michelle Bachmann on my radio show earlier this morning. She's putting together a constitutional caucus in Congress. What is that? She's saying maybe we should learn the Constitution and teach it before we go into every vote. Let's get these people together and hold them together on the constitutional ideas. That is an idea that would work. How do I know? Well, because that's what the progressives did in the Progressive Caucus. And that's what this is. The Tea Parties, or the Constitution, is the opposite of the progressives. Please, you call your new members of Congress and you say, please, I'm begging you, get in with the values and the principles that any common American can sign up for. Suggest to them that they get on board. You call them and make sure they're in those caucuses, and you have them hold together, because, man, there are a lot of forces. It is Jimmy Stewart and Mr. Smith goes to Washington. These guys are in trouble. Now we have to watch their back and help them. In just a minute, I come back. I'm going to show you what America looks like if we don't change our ways. Get ready to shock the system, because we can bring it back to life. Next. Last night was historic. Your voice has been heard loud and clear, and you're just getting up. Getting people into office, believe it or not, is the easy part. Now, what do these people do? That's what matters. I wrote this book. It's taken me over a year to write it. It's called Broke. And one of the things that I talked about in here that really a year and a half ago seemed nuts, ironically, is already becoming part of the debate. They talked about it last night. It has to do with our statutory debt limit. In 1940, the debt limit, which is the amount of bonds, remember this chart over here? The bonds that the government can issue and sell to the Chinese or anybody else. It was authorized to sell, I think it was like $43 billion. Well, that wasn't enough. Look at here. Started going up and up and up and up. Here's 2000. Look at this straight line up. Congress authorized it to go higher and higher and higher, and the debt ceiling now is $14.3 trillion. That is 291 times larger than the original limit. Since Obama took office, the debt ceiling has been raised 3 times. Now, usually raising the debt limit is pretty routine. A bill goes before Congress and they just pass it. But this last time, not one Republican in Congress voted to approve the limit increasing. Not one. So that begs the question, were they just positioning themselves? Were they just trying to win an election? Or did they mean it? What would happen if the Republicans were to band together next year and block the Treasury from issuing more debt? Well, a year ago when I was writing this book, I got all the big experts together. And I asked them, I was researching this book, and I asked them, what happens? Their consensus was that in the short term, we would be unable to issue new debt. Spending would necessarily be slashed. America would likely lose its AAA credit rating, and the markets around the world would panic. Maybe saying no to more debt would send the message to everyone that there is no more money. Maybe more importantly, like an individual that loses his job or has to declare bankruptcy, it would force a national conversation about our real priorities and how they should be funded. Read about it in Broke. Real ideas, real solutions, not just political solutions. Available in bookstores everywhere. And don't miss Friday's program when we outline this scenario. What happens when nobody buys our debt anymore? We will see you tomorrow night. You don't want to miss a single episode in the next week or so. DVR it. From New York, good night, America.